Alrighty guys, welcome to this week's second class. Today we'll be primarily focused on upper body work. We'll be looking at the wrist, we'll be looking at the elbow, and then we'll be looking at the shoulder as well. What I would like to do today is start in this kneeling position that I'm in. This is called a collapsed kneel or a low kneeling position. This was what we ended last class in when we were working on the ankle in what's called the combat kneeling position, which is just where you have one foot on the ground and that knee up, but you still have a very deep bend in the knee. I want to start in this position and do most of our cars from here today because it is a very good position to get used to relaxing in, but also one that a lot of folks have trouble with. So like I had said in the last class, if you're having trouble, you need to take pillows or towels and stick them between your thigh and your calf, and that will reduce how much bend you have in your knee. And you want to roll them up so that you have a big object. The yoga blocks work, but they're very stiff, so it can actually be somewhat painful. So instead, take a towel, like I've got my two towels, and you could stick it right between your knee and your calf, and even just that tiny little bit can help. Again, you could also use pillows or cushions or something like that to raise you up even more. If for some reason this is really not doable for you, then you can come into what's called tall kneeling like this, but I do want you to try to do the low kneel as long as you can. What you'll need for class today is 2 yoga blocks, 2 tennis balls are always good to have, 2 towels, and you'll need a dowel. The shorter this dowel, the better. So you can use a broomstick, that's fine. I'm trying to think of like what objects might be similar in terms of length, but something that's short. If you have like a cardboard packaging tube, that might work. You might break it when we jump into this work, but anything that's a little bit shorter, even a baseball bat will work because we're going to use it for pails, rails, and you're not going to need to be lifting the object itself, except for maybe one instance, but anything that's a little bit shorter. So when I'm on my knees, this object is roughly the height of my collarbone, so a full-length broomstick might be a little bit too much. All right, so let's go into this collapsed kneeling position. And you could place your hands on your thighs. It's an easy spot to start. And let's begin with the neck. So we're going to bring chin to chest, look to right armpit, lean the right ear back, take the eyes up, center to the ceiling, look to the left shoulder, down to the left armpit, chin to chest, reverse, left armpit, left shoulder, up to ceiling, right shoulder, right armpit, down to center, number 2. Repeating all the same points all the way around and reverse. And number 3, right armpit, right shoulder, right ear to back, right pocket, eyes up, over to the left, down, chin to chest, reverse. Very good. Now arms across the chest. Let's bring elbows down. I'm going to cue this with body parts rather than the clock today. So let's bring left elbow or left shoulder towards the floor. Lean the right shoulder back to the right back pocket. Rotate the right shoulder to the ceiling and the right shoulder down to the ground. And chest to center, reverse. Right shoulder to the ground. Left shoulder back, left pocket, left shoulder ceiling, left shoulder ground, and down. Number 2. See if you can find it without any cueing on this one. And number 3, left shoulder towards the floor, right shoulder back, right pocket, center, left shoulder back, left pocket, right shoulder down to floor, center, reverse. Very good. Grab your block, shoulder blades. Let's lock the elbows out. Reach the block, shrug, pull it back, drop down, reach, shrug, pull back, drop down, reach, shrug, pull back, drop down, reverse, shrug, reach, drop, pull, shrug, reach, drop, pull, shrug, reach, drop, and pull. Very good. From here, good to use a tennis ball for this. Left arm behind your back, right arm across the midline, straight elbow, bicep grazes the cheek, overhead position, internal rotation, reach back behind you. You're internally rotated at the bottom, reverse, external rotation, overhead position, come across and back down. Number 2, across the midline, graze the cheek, overhead, internally rotate, reach behind you, come to meet the hip, reverse. That's number 2. And number 3. Excellent. Let's go to left arm. I think this is, I don't know, 3rd or 4th set of cars today. Usually 1 in the morning, 1 before climbing, and then 1 in class. But that morning one is the most important one. Remember, we haven't reviewed some of this stuff in a while, but cars, controlled articular rotations, are largely meant as a joint range of motion maintenance tool. One more. So if you express your full range of motion daily, you are much less likely to lose any range of motion than if you were to only express it once or twice a week in class. So once you have enough classes under your belt where you feel like you know your cars, then just do them every day. The best time is in the morning, if you can. Lots of reasons for that. But if you do them at night before you go to bed, that's fine too. So let's go to the elbows. Palms are forward. Spread out those fingers and flex. Turn hands away. Extend. Turn. Flex. Turn. Extend. Turn. Flex. Turn. Extend. Palms stay down. Flex. Turn. Extend. Turn. Flex. Turn. One more. Extend. Turn, flex. For the wrist here, let's do both at the same time. You can use the tennis balls if you have them. Palms up to the ceiling. Let's go circles to the outside. So knuckles down, out and around, up, in, down, out. Don't let those forearms move. And reverse. 3. All right. Now, hip, knee, and ankle are not really that accessible from this position. So let's go to quadruped. I'm just going to come up on my knees and demo from the side for you here. Okay. So for the hip, hike the knee up, abduct to the side, foot up towards the ceiling, knee comes around and down, reverse. Drive up and back, out to the side, foot drops level with the knee and comes up. And number 2, big circles here. I'm going to prop up on fists. Reverse. And number 3 rather. And reverse. And the other leg. Reverse. Number 2. Reverse. And number 3. Knee hikes up, open, foot to ceiling, knee comes back and around, reverse. and down. Very good. Ankles and knees. You can do from here. Now this one you need to be careful. I'm actually going to use a knee pad because it's bugging me on this floor. You need to be careful here. Don't bend your knees too far, all right? So turn the toes out, sit back as far as is comfortable for you. Come up, toes in, sit back. This is tibial internal and external rotation, but we're moving our thigh bone rather than moving the shin like we did in the last class, all right? Toes out, sit back, toes in, sit back. This is when Jason or like a couple other students who have issues with their knee, you just want to be careful. I mean, you should be able to do this, but maybe, you know, when your toes are turned out, like you're not going to sit all the way back like I am here, okay? And then for the ankle, just pick one foot up off the ground, circles with the ankle, and reverse, 2, 3, and the other one, 1, 2, 3, reverse, which way? I don't know. 2 and 3, excellent. Now, we are going to work on the wrist first. So we're still going to be kind of in this kneeling position. It's really tough to get the wrist going. You could do it in quadruped, but I find that I often end up coming back into this kneeling position in some way, shape, or form anyway. So let's take your 2 blocks, place them at your side, and what we're going to do is place your hands on the blocks, and then you're going to shift your weight forward until you feel a stretch on the back side, so like this side of the either the wrist or the forearm. So depending on where that is, it'll be different for everybody, but it should be on that back side or underside. Now, one thing I like, if you look at my fingers real quick, if you bring your fingernails under and you create kind of this pad, rather than straightening your fingers, but your hand is going to be like this, I just find that I can get more pressure and a better position if I'm in that setup. So you've got your fingernails curled under, and the fingernails are in contact with the floor or the object rather than the palm side of your finger, all right? So here we go. Sit up nice and tall. Lean forward until you feel a stretch. Now it might be different on both wrists, and that's okay. We're going to find a trainable position here. And let's take a few deep breaths. And when you're ready, drive the palm and the fingers into the block. 20% effort, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. Safest, greatest effort for 10, as if you're trying to straighten your wrist. 3, 2, 1. And try to pull the back of your hand towards your elbow and get deeper or further forward into that stretch. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Again, when you're ready, push into the block as if you're trying to straighten your wrist. Safest, greatest effort for 10. 3, 2, 1, and sink deeper. Try to pull the back of the hand to the elbow. You should feel the top of your wrist burning here. 3, 2, 1, and again, drive into the block. Safest, greatest effort for 10. 3, 2, 1, and squeeze. Try to sink deeper. 3, 2, 1. Very good. Now, what we'll do next is a passive range hold for both wrists. So same position, you got the fingernails tucked under. You're going to shift your weight forward until you feel a stretch. Once you feel that stretch, squeeze the top of the hand or the top of the wrist as if you're trying to pull your fingers towards your elbow, and then start to lean back until your fingernails leave that surface, okay? So that's going to be a really tough, strong contraction across the top of the wrist. If you have trouble with push-ups, this is an awesome drill. So doing the Pales Rails that we did and doing these passive range holds, okay? So hopefully I can clip this and send it to a few of our students that have trouble with their wrists and push-ups. So again, what you want to do is fingernails underneath, tucked under, they should be in contact with the block, and shift your weight forward until you get a stretch. Then pull the back of the hand towards your shoulder or towards your elbow. Start leaning back, and once the fingernails leave, hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This is one of those drills that looks like I'm doing nothing. Lean forward, get the stretch, squeeze the top of the hand, start shifting back until the fingernails leave. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm going to scoot these blocks up just a bit. I like it in front of the shoulder a little more. And lean forward, squeeze back of the hand, and shift back until the fingertips come off. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We got 2 to go. Shift forward, little stretch. Make sure your elbows are locked, okay? If you unlock your elbows, I mean, I could go really far forward. Lock these elbows. You're pressing into the block a little bit, all right? Shift forward. Once you feel a stretch, squeeze the top of the hand, back out of that stretch until the fingernails pick up. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We got one more. Shift forward and squeeze back of the hand. Lift those fingernails and hold. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, now a little break. I don't know what you are doing at home. I will assume that most of you are not still in this kneeling position, which I have now been in, aside from doing quadruped, for about 18 minutes, okay? So this is why it's really important that you get this position and get access to this position over time, because there's a lot that you can do from here. If not, hopefully you still had the pads, or hopefully you figured out that you could kind of go into quadruped like this. I didn't really demo it, but that's what you would do if you can't be in this kneeling position for this long. So the last drill, this is a challenge. It's going to be the same thing. We're going to do 2 reps, the passive range hold, and once you get the fingernails off the ground, I want you to try to extend the fingers. So this is really going to light up all of the extensors of the hand, okay? So here we go. Fingernails are tucked under, shifting forward until stretch, squeeze back of the hand, and lean back till your fingernails come off. Now try to straighten the fingers, and then bring them under, and then come back into the stretch. Keep those elbows locked, and sit back until the fingernails come up, and then straighten the fingers. Oh, that's really hard. All right. Now I want to demo that in quadruped, just so that it makes sense, okay? So technically, what we've got here, if I'm not mistaken, is a hinge. So we're bringing the wrist into extension at its end range, and then we're hinging the fingers. Okay, so this is a really tough drill. So in quadruped, bring your hands about under your shoulders or maybe a little closer. Tuck the fingernails under to create that pad, and then shift some weight forward until you feel a stretch. Once you feel that stretch, squeeze the back of the hand as if you're trying to pull it towards your elbow. Shift weight back until the fingertips or fingernails come off the ground. Extend the fingers, bend the fingers, and let's do one more rep, all right? So fingernails are tucked under. We're in this kind of pad formation. Shift your weight forward until you feel a stretch. Squeeze the back of the hand up towards the elbow. Shift back until your fingertips come away from the floor, and then extend the fingers, and then bend the fingers. Whoo! All right. So that is some pretty serious wrist extension work. I think it's worth doing cars to work this out. So let's do both wrists at the same time. Just small circles here, or sorry, big circles. Whoo, baby. That, after climbing multiple times a week, that drill is really, really helpful. Really helpful in stretching and creating strength in the flexors at this end range extended position, but also in creating wrist extensor strength. So let's move on to the elbow. You'll still be on your knees here. If you want, I'll show you. You can get down onto the ground. Where's my belt pack? Okay. So you could work in a Sphinx position. I don't remember if we did this last week or the week before, but I'm laying on the ground. My elbows are underneath my shoulders. What we're going to do now is train elbow pails rails. Okay, so you need that shorter, that short dowel. And what we're going to do is train the supination pails rails first. Okay, so how this works is you want to grab the end of the dowel in your right hand, and the rest of the dowel is off to the left. Now, depending on your range of motion is where you're going to put this block. So let's say you have really bad range of motion, and you can barely turn your hand over. So right now, like, I can pretty much get my hand turned all the way, palm up to the ceiling. Some of you guys might only be able to get it to like right here, okay? And that's okay. In that case, what you might have to do is just use a block and try to rotate away from the block, all right? But if you can, try to get your palm up towards the ceiling. You're gonna grab the end of the dowel in your palm, and then this block is what dictates the difficulty of the stretch or the intensity of the stretch. So if I move this block closer, it's gradually moving the dowel higher up and increasing the intensity of my stretch across my elbow and in my forearm, okay? The other thing you could do too is just flip that block up higher, which will help you keep the hand on the floor, all right? So then what's going to happen is we're going to try to drive the dowel down into the block and then try to lift it up off the block, okay? So here we go. Let's begin. Let's first find our stretch position. So for me, it really feels like it's probably right about here. This feels pretty intense. I'm pretty sure I can't lift that dowel or get any deeper into my position. Now I'm gonna take my left hand and place it on my forearm so that nothing can really move here, okay? So when you're ready, try to twist the dowel into the block. All right, we're gonna go safest, greatest effort for 10. 4, 3, 2, 1. Try to lift that dowel off the block. I can get it a little bit. 3, 2, 1. So that means I need to move this a little closer, get more of a stretch. Here we go. Same contraction. Drive the dowel into the block. Safest, greatest effort for 10. Should feel like this backside of your forearm contracting kind of over near the elbow. 3, 2, 1, and try to lift this. You should feel your bicep. 3, 2, 1. Relax. If you can, try to get the back of your wrist to touch the ground so that you're not bending at the wrist here. And here we go, final set, drive into the block. Safest, greatest effort for 10. 3, 2, 1. And try to lift off the block. 3, 2, 1. Alrighty. So that's the supination pails rails side. Let's go to the pronation side of the same elbow. So the concept is the same. We're now just going to move the block over here. And the palm is going to face down. So if I didn't have the dowel, my palm would just be flat on the ground, all right? When I have the dowel, I'm going to grab onto it, and you can still get your thumb under it if you want to. It's going to be hard from this position. So I usually keep my thumb over the dowel so that everything's on top. And then we're going to be contracting into the block and then trying to lift off the block again. So it's the same concept, just from the pronated side. I think I just got lucky. I don't think that I can get any more range of motion or any more stretch from here. I mean, maybe, but this is pretty intense already. So you want to make sure too that your wrist and your elbow are parallel and in a straight line, okay? So here we go. We're on the pronation side now. Let's drive the dowel into that block. Should feel top of the forearm burning. Safest, greatest effort for 10. 3, 2, 1. Try to lift off the block. Should pretty much be impossible. 3, 2, 1. Drive into the block. 3, 2, 1, and lift off the block. 3, 2, 1. Final set. And drive into the block. 4, 3, 2, 1, and lift off the block. 2, 1, and relax. All right, so now let's go to supination on the other side. Actually, the block is going to stay where it was. This is a great example of where Kinstretch looks like you're doing nothing because this dowel isn't really going to move very much. So let's see. So this side, you can see actually, this is a good example. I'm able to twist this dowel pretty high, which means I've got a lot more range potentially on this elbow, but also like then the position that I was in at that moment. So now I can't really lift off this block. So this is probably pretty close to the range here. So when you're ready, palm is pointed up to the ceiling. The dowel is in the left hand. Your block is on the right side. You're holding roughly the end of the dowel. When you're ready, let's rock and roll. Drive the dowel into the block. Safest, greatest effort for 10. 3, 2, 1. Try to lift off the block. 3, 2, 1. Drive into the block. Safest, greatest effort for 10. 3, 2, 1. And try to lift off. 3, 2, 1. Final set. Drive into the block. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lift off the block if you can. 3, 2, 1. And relax. Let's move to the pronation side. This stuff can be pretty tough. Make sure that you are pressing your elbows down into the ground the whole time. If you're not, then you're going to kind of be like slouching on your neck like this. So keep those elbows under the shoulders. press into the ground like I'm doing here, and that'll help protect your neck and your shoulders. So here we go. Pails rails on the pronation side. When you're ready, rotate into the block. Safest, greatest effort for 10. 3, 2, 1. Try to lift off. And reverse, drive into the block. 3, 2, 1, and lift off. 3, 2, 1. Final set, drive into the block. Safest, greatest effort for 10. And reverse, drive off the block. 3, 2, 1, and relax. Alrighty, that is it for the elbows. Actually, there was one drill that I wanted to do with you guys. It is pretty tough. We'll see if we can do it from this position. Well, no, I think I'm going to skip it for today just because there's been so much time spent on our shoulders, and I don't want you guys to feel crushed, like constantly pressing your shoulders. So the next thing that we're going to do is simple drill. We do it all the time. Prone pails rails for the shoulder in external rotation. So take one of your towels. You're going to use it as a little pad for your head. Hopefully my microphone will be okay. I don't want to smash it. Let's see here. Dowel will still come in handy here. So keep the dowel up by your head for now. And this block is going to be out at about 90 degrees from your body, or right in line with your shoulders so that your elbow can be supported by it. Next, take this dowel and you want a 90-degree angle at your elbow, like so. So again, this is shoulder external rotation pails rails. What you're going to do is walk your hand up the dowel until you start to feel a stretch, potentially on the front of the shoulder, maybe even on the top, but it's often in the pec. All right. Once you have that, take a few breaths to just relax. I guess all we did today, except for the wrist, was pails rails, but whatever. So here we go. Drive that stick into the ground as if you're trying to rotate it through the floor. And when you're ready, ramp up to safest, greatest effort for 10. The elbow is light. All the pressure is in the stick. 3, 2, 1. Try to lift that stick up off the ground. 3, 2, 1. Drive into the floor. Safest, greatest effort for 10. Elbow is light. Stick is extremely heavy. 3, 2, 1. And try to pull it off the floor. 4, 3, 2, 1. Drive into the ground. Safest, greatest effort for 10. 3, 2, 1. And try to lift off the floor. 3, 2, 1. Very good. Piece of cake, nothing too crazy here. Let's switch to the other side. Now, if that's tough for you, because it's difficult to turn your thumb up towards the ceiling in this position, then what you need to do is use another yoga block and prop your wrist up on it instead of using a dowel, okay? So one way of adapting what we're doing here. So let's walk the fingers up
until you feel a stretch on the front of the shoulder, probably in the pec or your chest. And here we go. Let's drive into the ground. Safest, greatest effort for 10. 3, 2, 1. Try to lift the dowel up off the ground. 3, 2, 1. Drive into the ground. Elbow is light. Dowel is very heavy. 4, 3, 2, 1. Try to lift. 3, 2, 1. And drive into the ground. Final set. 3, 2, 1. And try to lift. 3, 2, 1. And relax. Alrighty. Back to the collapsed kneeling position. That's all I've got for you guys today. Really tough drills on the wrist, really good work on the elbow, and just basic work on the shoulder. So next week we'll continue to dive into that stuff. I think the wrist work is really helpful, especially for folks who are struggling with their push-ups. So hope you enjoyed this class, and we'll see you guys next week. All right, thank you.